Okay, so you're going to get a sheet of paper. You want to write your name on the back and flip it over. And you want it long ways in front of you. And what we're going to do is we are going to print today. And so we're going to be using a bunch of different supplies to show marks by dipping them into paint. Okay? So a lot of different things, and the goal is we want this to look like a sky when we're all done. So I want you to think about a sky. Do you want to do it all blue? Do you want to do it a nighttime sky? Do you want to do it like a sunset, so have a lot of colors? So I want you to brainstorm what kind of sky you want. And I want to think about how we want our sky. So I have a pretty pink paper here. So my sky's already naturally a pretty pink. So I'm going to add to that. I'm going to kind of do a sunset looking sky. So sunset, I'm thinking of oranges and reds, yellows, and even a little blue and purples. But I don't want to go too crazy, so I'm going to kind of give myself a focus. Okay, so you want to pick something to stamp. It could be a little stamp, or it could be something bigger. So I'm going to start with kind of the little one, and I'm going to just do some yellow. So I'm just dipping this right into the yellow paint. And I'm going to stamp across. And now I know I went into my sun a little bit, but that's okay. Whenever the paint starts to run out, just get more. And I'm going to do another row. I could do 3 rows, I could do 1 row. Depends on what you want to do. Now I'm going to switch supplies and I'm going to switch colors. Now I'm going to go to orange. And I'm just going to use a stamp for this one. So this one you have to wipe a little bit of the paint off on the side because you don't want to get too much paint on it, otherwise your stamp won't show up. And here I'm going to use one of my shape. So I have to get it all over the shape. And I'm going to overlap them a little bit. Okay, so now that I have printed my sky, and remember, you could have done this all blue or all black, depending on what kind of sky you want. I'm going to put it on the drying rack because I can't really do anything else until all this paint dries. Okay, so the next step, now this is dry, all my prints, I am going to take some brown paint and I am going to paint a tree on top of all of this. And I want my tree to be pretty large. I don't want it to just be really small. So I'm going to just dip my paint into, or my brush into the paint. I don't need any water to start with. And to draw a tree, I'm going to start here at the bottom. And I'm going to paint 2 curved lines like this. Now what you're going to notice is the paint doesn't fully cover up the patterns underneath, but I think that's a really cool effect because then you still understand what's happening under it and it leaves an interesting image. Okay, so right now I'm just painting in between these 2 curved lines, and this is going to be sort of like the trunk of my tree. Start pretty much just thinking of the letter Y. Alright, so you want to come up, draw a Y, and then you can make branches that come off of that, make another Y. Make some come to the side. See, all these are just big letter Ys, and then you can make tinier letter Ys. So now that I have my tree painted in, I'm just going to put my paintbrush to the side. And now I want to create leaves. So in the background we did all kinds of printing, and now we're going to print again. And this time we have to get our hands a little dirty. We are going to use our thumbprint for the leaves. Okay, so I have some green paint here, and I'm just going to put my thumb right into it. And I'm going to put leaves around my branches. And I'm nice in control. I'm not just putting my thumbprint anywhere I want. I'm thinking about where the leaves would actually be on this tree. Sometimes leaves can cover up the branches, so if you want to cover up some of your branches, you can. Okay, so now that I'm done with my thumbprints, I'm going to put this on the drying rack to dry. Say this is my tree. This is what I don't want from your thumbprints. Number one, you're working too fast and you're not thinking about what you're doing. As an artist, you really want to think about what you're doing. And number two, this isn't as nice looking. It's a little sloppy looking. So we don't want to do this. We want to have nice in control. Okay, so we lay it on the drying rack to dry, and then we can work on the next step of the assignment. Okay, so meanwhile, while I'm finished painting, I'm now going to work on my treehouse design. So this is one I've already drawn with a pencil on white paper, and all I'm doing now is I'm outlining it with Sharpie. So all of the lines come back to life. And you want to think about all the details. So for instance, I wanted my door to be round because it's my treehouse. I can design it how I want to. It doesn't need to look like a real house. Okay, so if you draw it and you outline with Sharpie, then what you want to do is we're going to take watercolor paints and we're going to paint it in. With watercolor paints, you need a brush, water, and they do not work unless you get them wet. So I have to dip my brush into the water first, and you just want to pick out your color and begin painting. And you want to try to stay in your lines the best that you can. Always drag your brush towards the handle, never push it away from the handle, because then the hair of the brush gets pulled and then you end up with bad hair days, and the brushes don't like that. Now, when you get to the tiny corners, use the tippy toe of your brush to get into those itsy bitsy little areas, and then when you get to the bigger sides, you can use the fatter part of your brush. Okay, and you just want to make sure before you switch colors that you really rinse your brush, okay, so we don't get any of the colors mixed up in the paint tray. So make sure your brush is clean before you get a new color. That's very important in becoming a successful artist. Keeping your supplies nice and tidy. Okay, so now that my painting is done, I'm just going to let it dry. And you also have the option, if you don't want to paint, you can make your treehouse out of cut paper and you can use glue. So here is going to be my treehouse, and I've already cut out a roof for it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue here at the bottom. And I'm going to put it onto that blue paper like this. And here I've cut out yellow rectangles and glued them onto gray paper. And these will become my windows. And this is a pink rectangle that I'm going to use for my door. So all I'm doing is I've cut it, I'm putting glue on the back, gluing it down. Okay, and once you have it all glued down, then you can take crayons or Sharpies and you can add your details. So I can add a doorknob. I can make the lines on my window. Okay, something simple like that. All right, if you made your tree house using cut paper, this is called a collage, then you're ready. But if you made it with paint, then what you want to do is you just want to cut out your painting. And then you are ready for the next step. So the next step is to get our tree back in front of us. And you want to place where you want your tree house on your tree, okay? So do you want it in the corner? Do you want it down low? Do you want it up high? Where do you want it? It should probably sit on a branch. Okay, so I'm going to use my collage tree. And I'm going to just put some glue on the back, a frame of glue, and a little bit in the middle. And I'm going to glue it down. And now I have a tree house in a tree. And from here, if you want to add even more details, you can. So think about what else could be in this image in your tree house. Could you have a swing under the tree? Can you have a ladder coming up the tree to your tree house? How else are you going to get up there? Or is it a bridge? Can you put little owls and birds into the tree? Okay, so you want to be creative in what you design here, and you want to use oil pastels to do that. So oil pastels are a little messy, but they're going to show up nice on top of this paint. Okay, so once you have finished everything with the oil pastels, you are finished with our treehouse assignment, combining nature, a natural environment, with a constructed environment built by people.